Great, welcome everyone to the MAGFest Challenges panel. We once again are bringing life to retro games. Maybe a few of you have come to this panel before, or at least tried the challenges downstairs. I am Baxter Campbell. I joined the team like 4 years ago and started helping make some of the challenges. So some of the ones in the last few years you might be enjoying things that I spent the time to make.
I'm not Tim. I'm Kyle. I help with testing the challenges and running the stations and setting them up and a lot of the grunt work. I can talk more about testing and stuff later. But yeah, I'm here as well. I'm not as important as these guys with these giant brains.
But yeah, so I want to give just a basic overview of the challenges process, like what we make, how you can lend a hand yourself, and then we'll get into some samples that I prepared, and then we'll be ready to take some questions. But so first of all, what even is a challenge? So we run an emulator, don't tell anybody, called BizHawk. It's a tool that basically, while you're playing the game, you can actually look at the game's memory in real time. You can see it updating. You can see all the various values. This is very helpful. It's mostly used by speedrunners because they can see frame by frame, like, what sort of values are set to. You can even record your inputs and have it play those inputs back. But it also opens itself up to a coding library that allows you to view, edit, change values in the memory in real time. So we use that system to create the challenges. We use save states, which maybe you've used before, to load the game at various points, and then we check for various values to see if the player either succeeded or failed. And when they do, we can output a message to the screen that allows the person to know they need to restart, which just then reloads the save state. So some people are like, well, how do you learn this sort of thing? And really, it's just by trial and error. I will just open up the RAM and be like, okay, well, right now it says that Samus's health is 53. So let me just look for the value 53. And that'll give me like 200 values. And then I take damage, and it's like, okay, well, now my health is 43. Which of these 53s went to 43? And you can just do kind of like, it almost feels like a mystery sometimes to try and figure out what value equates to what. But
Real sleuthing.
Yeah. And then once you think you have the value, you can then even try updating it. And so I see like, okay, well, I think it's this. If I update it to 99, oh, I see that Samus's health is now 99. So I know that I found the value that controls the health.
Or at least you hope you did.
Yeah, at least you hope you did. There'll be some examples of that coming up. But also, if it's a popular game, there's a small chance you can actually find an entire map of the RAM online. Sometimes you have to translate it to like the different ways that our tool outputs it, but usually it can be very helpful to give you a jumping off point. So like if you're trying to make a challenge in Zelda, usually they got Zelda pretty figured out. So yeah, here are some examples. If you start trying to just update things and you're not sure what they are, sometimes you'll get sprites just hanging out in the air. Sometimes you'll mess up the sound that's playing in the background. Sometimes Link will have no hearts but be completely fine. And then sometimes you can get the game into even an infinite loop. He's not getting out of there. He's just there forever now.
It's a really big series of trial and error. You have to keep looking around, searching, trying to find what you're actually looking for, and you never know what you're going to find.
But the more and more you work with it, the more you kind of get a feel for what the developers in the past had to like contend with how much limited memory they have. So luckily, the further on you go, like when you get to the N64, you get memories that are humongous and have a lot of different things. But if you're doing retro games, it's a much smaller map you can figure out.
If you go back to NES games, around that area, it'll be easier to find things, I think, comparatively to, say, PlayStation or N64.
So say you want to join the challenge team. Say you have an idea for a challenge and you want to try seeing if you can code it yourself. So first we recommend joining the MAGFest Slack. It is how we all communicate with each other and give each other updates. It allows us to share things we're working on. So if you join the MAGFest Slack, join the challenges room, you can contact us directly and we can give you some things to get going. Once you want to start working, it's always good to just work one idea at a time. Like just say like, oh, I want to do something where someone has unlimited ammo. It's like, okay, find the ammo, see if you can either lock it or change it at any time. And then you're like, okay, I have the unlimited ammo. Now I'm going to start making targets or find something to shoot. So it's like, just always try to keep the idea small and what you need to do small, so that way you can test and move to the next point every time you want to make progress.
Yeah, it's a really good idea to hone in on something, like you said, something small, and start from there, right? A lot of people come up with challenge ideas and they think very grandiose about, oh, well, what about this, what about that? But then when it comes to practically figuring out where that information is in memory and such, it gets really complicated really fast. So, like Baxter was saying here, try to start simple, figure that stuff out, and then work your way from there to see how complicated your idea really is.
Yeah, sometimes your ideas will change once you see what limitations you have, but still you can be pretty creative even in a limited space.
Limitation breeds innovation, as they say.
Yeah, and then while you're working, there are various ways to output the data that you're seeing even while you're playing the game, so that way you can make sure you are working with the right memory. There's even an error log that you can look up when you're coding to make sure, like, if you're trying to set values that you haven't found yet, it'll give you pretty clear errors and you can work through it. And then you can just test your game, make sure it works in all the places that you want it to for your challenge. That's why it's usually good to keep the challenge just to either a single room or a single area, because sometimes when you go to another area, the memory will change. So just test it in all the areas that are important. And then lastly, you always want to demo your game to other people, because something you thought was easy could be, only easy because you've now seen it 100 times.
That's where a lot of my work comes in.
So I've had some people ask, like, what if I'm more into art than programming? Like, you like doing sprites or you like doing design. That's still very helpful.
I've got good news for you.
Yeah. Like, in a previous year, there was a Kirby challenge where I just did some sprite editing. I changed the way Kirby is when he's using his laser, so it looks like he's firing a gun, and I changed the power-up icon to also make it look like he got a gun power-up. But I'm not the biggest artist, but that was still fairly fun, and I had other people who were interested in joining when I mentioned I was doing sprite work, but we only got so far, just because everyone has lots of things they're trying to get done in time for MAGFest.
I forgive you. I think it's a pretty good gun. I think it passes. And I think your icon of the gun is pretty good as well. The actual power is very good. You did a good job. Don't sell yourself short.
Thank you. But yeah, so even then, if you just want to make some art assets, we could find ways to use those. So, as always, a big part of programming is what happens when you get stuck, the code's just not working the ways you think. So here, there are various ways to print to the screen and print to the console as well. So I had a problem where I really wanted to do the Duck Hunt challenge. Maybe some of you have seen that one. And I was just having a problem where the gun wasn't firing. And so I just actually had it print on screen, like, is the gun firing or not? And once I realized that I wasn't even sending the right input, I figured out where the problem was. So just, it's good to always look at all your data. Additionally, you can try explaining what the code should be doing to either like a friend or just an inanimate object, and sometimes just talking through it can help you realize when the logic is not quite working. Yeah. And as we said, you could also try just simplifying your idea. Maybe you're trying to do too much at once. Just try, instead of loading 5 enemies, load 1 enemy. In the new Metroid challenge this year, I was using level editors, and every time I tried to load more than 5 enemies, the game would just stop loading. So okay, we go back to just loading 1 enemy and then 2, and then eventually I learned the limit was 4 in most situations. And of course, we are a team, so if you do, again, join the MAGFest Slack, even if you don't have a complete challenge yet, if you're just starting, you're like, hey, I really want to do this, but it's suddenly not working, we might be able to help. You can look at your code and see what you're trying to do, and maybe we'll lend a hand.
And we're totally open, of course, if you want to reach out to us directly. We all have MAGFest emails. We all can be reached. More than happy to talk to you guys after the panel as well, to work on collaboration ideas. We're always open to ideas and helping to bring people to be able to make their challenges real.
Oh yeah, and feel free to ask for help as long as it's not right before MAGFest starts, because that's usually when I'm in power crunch mode and I'm trying to get my challenges done.
He means fix them.
And then of course, most of all, how do you make sure it's fun? You just start playing it. Usually if I have worked on a project for like 10, 20 hours and I still play it and it still like makes me laugh or like what makes it difficult I still feel is fair, then you usually have a good idea. But if you're playing it, you're just like, even I am disliking this, then it's probably not as fun as you might think. You might want to rework your idea.
And it's always good to bounce it off other people. That's why I'm here, right? You know, Baxter will come up with an idea. He'll say, well, hey, give it a shot. You know, what did you think about it when you first tried it? Or he'll watch me do it, right? And he'll see my impression of it. He'll watch my face and okay, well, did you think that was good? What did you think? What could I change? What was okay? What was bad? And we work it out from there.
Yeah, so, you know, we're a team and we'll be able to help each other and we'll be able to find where the fun is, pretty much.
I always tell him his ideas are good when we start.
Yeah.
I wear them down after that.
Yeah. So, let's see all this in action. I have a few examples. Let's see if we can figure it out on this two-screen system. I'm going to have to click and drag it over there.
Yeah, for some reason, mirroring the screen didn't want to happen. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Is there anything on the screen?
No.
Okay, let me try going back to send.
Oh, it's all over there. Sure would be nice if we could just duplicate the screen.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Try to duplicate it one more time. Maybe it'll work this time. After 8 times. We tried to duplicate the screen like 20 times, but these laptops are just so powerful that it cannot do it.
No. Just put it back on yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're flying blind. I got you. I can see it just fine.
All right. So this year I wanted to do some things in Legend of Zelda. So Ocarina of Time, which is one of the most modified games out there. There's all the randomizers, all sorts of things. So I was able to find a lot of various things. So one of the very first things I wanted to do was make it that Link could go anywhere. So I first got the inspiration watching that old video where they explain how ROM warps work. And eventually I learned, there's actually just an ID that says, like, what is Link's next room? And it normally does a certain type of logic to figure out where that is based on what door he goes through. But we can actually set that value to be anything we want. So I can't quite see it, but I lower left of the screen, is it saying like where his next room is?
Yep.
Yeah. So I have a button set that I can now change what it says his next room is going to be. So I loaded in all the various temples because I figured that would probably be a good place to go. Which one are we at?
Is it changing? I think it's changing.
It's not cycling.
No. Oh, it told me the controller worked.
Is that the main window or no?
Hold on.
It doesn't look like you just click on it.
Yeah, just click on it. There you go.
Yeah, we're not in the end of there, hang on.
Well, let me make sure. Okay, yeah, it just wasn't clicked on. There you go.
There you go, yeah.
So, is it now changing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see all the values changing in the bottom left there.
Yeah. Let's not do the water temple. All right.
Why not?
Yeah, so Link's just leaving his house.
With the watch.
And now we're in the water temple.
None will never be able to.
Yeah.
And now Baxter, where, for finding these different IDs and everything, you found that all in memory.
Yeah. So I found there was a very well-detailed wiki article that explained how the game's like active save is loaded. There's various things about like Link's current status, his current health, and one of them was just like next room ID. So that's what I'm updating in the memory, and I'm just like normally the logic would try and set that to the value it wants to be, but I'm like locking it in and freezing it, so that way the game's code actually cannot change it.
So as you can see, as a game like Zelda 64, very well documented.
Can't wait to see what's going on.
We can shift over, you want to shift over? Call tech ops, what the heck? Image this laptop. Oh.
I'm just gonna set the save state back to where we started.
We're better off going down onto the floor.
Every year it's something.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. So one of the other things I wanted to do was the challenge this year. If you've gone down there and played it yet, was that I wanted it to be young Link doing the final escape from Ganon's tower. Now that one, I realized if I just load Link there immediately, he's only going to have 3 hearts. And while that is a fun challenge for some people, I didn't want people to get frustrated and die immediately. So I wanted to learn how to control Link's health, and I'm still connected. Did you get more?
Yeah.
More health. Get more.
How far can it go? Is it still going?
I think you can get a few more.
A few more?
Yeah. Very healthy.
Very healthy. Good. So I found the place in memory that says what Link's maximum hearts are. It's actually, I believe it's like 8. Is it 8 or 16? But every 8 or 16 values, it'll give another heart. So just I have code that's saying like when I hit a key on the keyboard, increase that value by 8 or 16. And luckily, it all updated correctly, and I've taken damage to make sure that yes, that is a real heart. But sometimes you'll make a change and you'll think it's correct, and unfortunately it's not. I don't know. Yeah, even on the wiki it said, oh, if you want to give Link double damage, you just modify this one value. And I modified it, and
we've got our outline hearts.
Yeah. So basically, it was a number that said, oh, if you increase this number, it'll show Link as having double hearts. But it didn't actually give him double defense. It was still just an outline on the hearts. So it just wasn't well documented. I finally found another wiki that said, oh, you also have to set this other flag to 1.
Well, the wiki didn't lie.
Yeah.
It said it would show it. It didn't say it would do it.
Yeah, so that's why playtesting is always important. But then I found the flag and I updated the hearts correctly. So now he should have double defense. I hit the button correctly.
Very strong.
Yeah, very defensive. So, even with wiki articles, it's good to, try it out, make sure it's working, make sure it's doing what you think it's doing. And then lastly, there are some values that even when you update them, and it is the one you need to update, there's still more to it. So as you know, in this game, Link, has various weapons that have ammo counts. Are they all 0 right now? Hard to tell. In the top.
They're pretty good.
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me go to a different room.
The water temple.
What does it say right now?
Spirit.
Spirit? Okay, that's fine. Yeah. The pots might attack me. Alright, so
Yeah, it's 0.
So
We're healthy. We're safe. Look how many
now
hours.
what does it say? 99. So I was like, okay, let me just try setting it to 99. Unfortunately, how much Link can hold is still in the code. So if I use one of these, yeah, it just went back to 0. So I had to find the actual bits that say Link has collected, the upgrade that let him first hold anything at all, and then have the size upgrades. But I can still flip those flags whenever I want. So now, let's see, is it working? Yeah. So I'm now having it flip between having nothing, having 1 upgrade, 2, and 3.
So a lot of searching, investigation, and finding the right values.
Yeah. So if you've ever coded in binary, you know about how you have to flip flags 0s and 1s. So it's finding the exact 0s and 1s that set the flags that say he has those upgrades. So, but yeah. So I mean, I enjoy looking through the game and finding these sorts of secrets that, your whole life you grew up and you thought like, no, there's something actually in the game that knows that Link is holding a quiver, but it's really just, no, it's a single flag in memory that you can flip and change and have it do exactly what you want. So
This really lets you analyze that information to find it, and hone in on it, at least what you hope is the right information anyway.
yeah. But yeah, I think right now we can open it up to questions. We've kind of gone over a fair bit. You can have questions about development, questions about the current challenges. We can maybe give you some tips, or you can share any ideas you've had and see if you're curious, if it's awesome.
And just to reiterate, we always do need people to give their input. We're always open to people, even just stepping forth if you're uncomfortable, you don't really know maybe the memory manipulation and all the numbers and scare you very much like myself. I came onto the team because I just love the challenges so much, right? I played them, I came to MAGFest every year, and it turned out that I would spend all of my MAGFest doing the challenges and not actually being at MAGFest. Well, I guess it was, but So I said to myself, well, wait a minute, there's a better way to do this. Why don't I just ask these guys if they need help? And I did, and they said, of course we need help, please. We need someone who's willing to test our games out and test our ideas. And that's where I came in, and I started helping both of these guys, well, Tim isn't here, but helping Baxter test his different changes out and saying, hey, well, actually, I did this challenge, and I noticed that if I have this available to me, it's actually kind of easy. You sure you really want that? And he goes, yeah, let's make them suffer. I'm going to take it out. So, along with maybe a few other things, we've got your Zelda challenge downstairs. I recall when we were first testing it out, we were unsure about, I was thinking to myself, I don't actually remember, doesn't that stick do more damage than the Master Sword? But wait, I have the Master Sword equipped. And then Baxter goes, oh, shit. He shouldn't have the Master Sword. Thank you for pointing that out. There you go, right? So it's all about testing it out, communication between the team, and working it out in order to get the best challenges possible. So just wanted to throw it out there. We're always looking for people who are willing to test things out, figure out new ideas, make their own ideas reality, and be a part of the experience.
Yeah, an extra set of eyes always helps.
We'll also take people who are willing to scrounge around on the floor and plug in power cables as well. In the expo hall, there was bird shit on the ground, and I didn't like crawling in it. So if you were up for that too, you can take that job from me as well. It counts as volunteer. Please help me. Help. Thank you.
All right. Any questions? Yeah.
Is there any chance of challenges becoming available outside of MAGFest, or is that just a copyright?
Unfortunately not. We're able to, have them here at the event because it's a controlled space, but as soon as they're put online, that's technically, distributing ROMs, which that's when you hit the legal gray area.
Even if you sent it as a patch or something? Is that possible?
It just, the more you make it publicly available, the more people might look into how you're doing it and where you got your resources. So it's still best to keep it just to the event. But if you join the volunteer team, you can have access to it, but then you can't get rewards after.
The truth is, we want to make these challenges, we want them to be surprises to people, right? So it's really a commitment to, if you really do want to test them out, you're kind of like promising to us, like, hey, I'm not really going to tell everybody all the secrets and what I did and what I found out. That's the reason why it's not a publicly available thing, right? Or else, we would just throw it out there and let everyone test it, but then nobody would be smiling and surprised when they're here at MAG, and nor would we be so surprised when they find things that we didn't expect.
Last year, everyone found the Yoshi's Island challenge that you could just duck, and it kind of negated the whole challenge. So this year, ducking is the safe.
We made changes on the fly, too.
You back there, George.
Sure. I was just wondering if either of you do anything for the website for Metro Achievements, because it seems like there's a pretty similar kind of crossover in the experience.
No, I haven't done anything there. What do they have on that website?
So it's basically just like people develop achievements for games through the emulator RetroArch. So
yes,
they develop challenges for that based on the idea of them being achievements. achievements.
Right, yeah. No, I'm actually familiar with that, yes. It's really cool. To speak to that though, there is kind of a bit of an ethos to the way that challenges are developed here for MAGFest.
Yeah.
It's to bring ideas that you necessarily wouldn't be able to experience without heavy manipulation of the game, honestly. We want to bring things to MAGFest that you can't just do at home. You can't just play the game and experience it normally. That's why Kirby has a gun. That's why, the levels transition between different games. We're always experimenting with different things to make it an experience that is unique to MAGFest. So, not to crap all over doing retro achievements, obviously, but that is part of it, right? When we think of ideas, when I think of ideas, they're pretty bad. And Tim and this guy here, they say, "Wow, that's a great idea," and then 5 minutes later they go,
It's going right on the fridge.
yeah. And then my idea gets thrown into the trash because, it wasn't actually good. But the truth is, it's hard. It is really tough to think of challenges, too. I mean, Baxter can speak to how difficult it is, but it takes a lot of effort to come up with something creative. Something that's more than just changing, the value of damage, or how much health I have, or how many Bowsers are on the screen, right? And then you get really unique things like the challenges. You should see some of the new ones that we've got downstairs today. They're up there. They're up there. They're down there now. Very creative things. These guys are big brain. I'm little brain, but it's okay. I give my input.
Thank you. Any other questions? You back there?
What generation are you guys currently developing for? And as time kind of progresses, is there plans to kind of go up as these things get older?
Yes, but keep on.
Yeah, so this year the tool that we use just added support for MAME, which is the big arcade emulator. So some of the games this time are from the arcade. Pretty much anything past N64, it does get more challenging as the RAM gets more complicated, and also the file sizes get rather large. Like this year we have a Metal Gear Solid challenge, and just to even get the file to run Metal Gear, we did some special things instead of the normal way we load up games.
Yeah.
It's always funny when you look at a retro game on your computer and you're like, that is not even a megabyte.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little easier to run from a server.
Everything is tied from the, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Baxter, but everything is tied to really what BizHawk is able to do. So the BizHawk emulator, when it's able to play, when it gets updated and it can do different consoles and such, that's when we have the ability to actually use and manipulate those games.
Yeah, even this year we're also limited by the computers we have here at MAGFest. There was a Paper Mario challenge this year, and I got here and it didn't work. So unfortunately, I had to block it. But so we just do the best we can with what we have, both in the tools and the hardware. But we just know the more we lean towards, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, the more likely it is that it's going to work. And there's we hit a lot of the popular games, but if you have a game that you're passionate about that maybe not many people heard of and it's on a retro system, it's still just as viable as anything else.
I believe we have, one TurboGrafx challenge? It's the quick game, right?
Yeah.
So we got one TurboGrafx representation. If anybody wants to take up figuring out a Bonk's Adventure challenge, I'll take any game from, I'll take, any of the pinball games. You guys help me out here. I'm down begging for it. What's that?
Devil's Crush.
Devil and Aliens Crush as well. But you gotta think of a good idea. It's gotta be creative. That's the problem. It can't just be regular pinball. It's gotta be MAGFest pinball.
Table shakes constantly.
Not a bad idea.
You were playing pinball in an Earth.
You have a question back there? Yeah.
Pardon. Is the tool itself open source, and is that part of the MAGFest organization, or is that a third-party tool that y'all just happen to use?
It's open source. You can find it online. You can start, making your own challenges and running your own code, but it's not something owned by us.
All the tools you need are all within BizHawk and memory manipulation and viewing within BizHawk, right?
I would be more interested in working on BizHawk than in Creative Challenge. So I guess that's my question. Is BizHawk an open source?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's open source. I just, they distribute distribute it through GitHub, so they might allow changes, but yeah, we don't actually modify the emulator.
Yeah, but I do believe it is open source. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask which challenge took you the longest to develop.
So last year it was the WarioWare Smash one, just because that was essentially 10 mini challenges all glued together. And then this year it was the Metroid Only Up, which is, I actually found level editors as well, which I didn't go into here, but sometimes you can find tools where other people have built level editors. I had to learn like the way it loads enemies, the way it loads platforms, all that. So that, just building the levels took about a week, and then the code to glue it all together and make it hopefully work seamlessly. Someone told me it's not working, and I'm like, okay, I need to code test it again. But I saw someone beat it, so I'm like, okay, beating it correctly works, but like one of the failures apparently isn't working, so I gotta fix that too. But that one took me like another 2 or 3 days of like right before MAGFest, so very long days of getting that code working. So
You should see the WarioWare one is really, really good. He put so much effort, even into the art too.
Oh yeah.
You can tell that it took a lot of time just with how much he put into the actual game and manipulating the game. It almost seems like what you're looking at, you're like, is this even the game that I'm playing anymore? But that's just how good he is, guys.
Yeah. Basically, I just have an image that is loaded over the game as it switches games to hide the fact that it's switching things. So it looks like it's all seamless.
Wizardry, I don't know anything. I just say, wow, that looks really cool, Baxter. How long did that take you? A couple hours? He goes, yeah, a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Do you guys keep track of the stats for the players actually at MAGFest, and do you adjust the difficulty and point ratings based on that?
Yeah, we actually did that right before the show floor opened. We were looking at last year's stats for like which ones were harder than we thought. We made some of them harder. We made some of them worth more points. If we found like, oh no, not many people beat this, to both entice people to try a little more, or to. But sometimes if we see just one isn't being played very much, like both the attempts and the completions are very low, then we might retire one of the challenges as well.
We collect all the data. We have all the data. All the data.
What's the most surprising thing you found?
It wasn't me, it was Tim. He thought that the Sonic, where it switches every level when you collect a ring, he thought that one was going to be impossible, but now most people were able to beat it. So we're like, okay, let's change this to easy. But like I said, I'll be at MAGFest and someone's like, hey, I found, like, I'll watch people play, and I'll be like, oh, they found an exploit, or oh, this like failure isn't working quite right. And I try not to change any challenge at MAGFest because then it's kind of not fair if someone started and they had a harder or easier version. But if something's completely broken and I have the time to fix it, I'll try my best to fix it.
Tonight is the night. If you really want to get in there and find the exploits, tonight's the night. He's telling you. And then don't tell us. When you see us go, the challenge worked great. I loved it.
Yeah. I didn't face through the wall. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I just, for some reason, I clicked this one button and it was really easy, but what else did we want? I wanted to mention, that's fine. Any other questions? Please, go ahead.
What are some of the lowest success rate challenges?
Okay. Yes.
I'll pull out my phone.
So that's actually, that you just jogged my memory, right? So the stats that we keep track of, we have a lot. We have the attempts, we have successes, the whole gauntlet, really. How long, I believe we have even like how long you attempted the challenge for, how fast you gave up, right? So time, all that's recorded. We know who's been sitting at the stations the longest. So we have your badge number, and if you were sitting there for 8 hours straight, like, I'm not going to say anything, but you should be ashamed. That was me, by the way, at one point. So.
Yeah, so let's see, under 10 completions last year, Little Mac takes the beating. The Tiny Toons don't get chin splints.
Oh, it's hard, it's a hard one.
Yeah. The speed trampoline, I just said most people haven't heard of that one. The Charge and Chuck Norris only had 10 clears.
Tough.
The very tall mountain Mario 64 challenge, only 6 people.
Very easy. I passed that one first try, so I don't know where the other 5 people are, but I mean, we all thought it was easy. easy, honestly.
Kirby with a gun, only 8 completions.
It's a pretty long challenge. That's really, people give up.
I've been told my challenges are too long, so we're thinking next year we might give people a checkpoint that they can use at any time.
I don't want to give any forgiving. Everyone should suffer, honestly. If I have to suffer, you must suffer. So.
We'll make it that they only get like 10% of the points if they use it, but at least they can practice. That's kind of what I sometimes feel.
Well, that's not bad. That's devious.
I would say is that the boss, definitely the boss.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that.
We're going to think about it. There has to be a detriment, right? You'll be allowed one save state, but if you use it, you get nothing out of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
We're thinking of other ways, though, because we like the long challenges. We think they're really fun, but we don't like the frustration when, someone gets so close to the end and then they have to start all the way at the beginning. So it's part of the creative process, right? Baxter likes making those types of challenges. He makes sure he wants to, but to be creative and have a long challenge and have it be rewarding enough, it's all part of the playing and it's all part of the teamwork and us communicating about, well, was that too long? Well, it was easy for me. Well, for Baxter, pretty much everything's easy for him, right? He says, well, what do you mean? I finished this in 3 tries. I'm like, yeah, dude, you made it. Of course it was.
I sat down and I hadn't played the Kirby Challenge of the Year and I got it first try. What's the problem?
And I'd sit down and I'd go, what's Kirby? I know Kirby is. Why does he have a gun? How's it work? Why does he run out of ammo? Like, dude, I ran out of ammo on the first boss. Wait a minute. How's the challenge work? But it helps. You can see where my input really helps Baxter because he looks at me and goes, wow, people are really bad at games. And then you can find out how to make the challenge maybe a little softer for people who aren't as Scott gamers.
Any more questions?
Are there any specific games that you want to make a challenge for that you haven't?
Just because I haven't played it in a long time, I was like, can I do something in Snowboard Kids? And I was thinking, like, because of the weird way that laps work in that game, but I haven't thought of something yet.
Are we low on time?
No.
Oh, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, please go ahead. I don't know what time now.
So, which one of these challenges are you proud of? Which one is the one where you think about unleashing this on MAGFest and you're like, yeah, we did that?
I don't know, like, I don't necessarily like making things too difficult. I make them long and I make them, like, I know I actually make things difficult, but it's usually just the ones where I think I'm doing something really unique that I'm usually the most proud of. So that's why the Smash remix last year, I was like, I think this is really cool, and people seem to respond to it. The most devious thing I've done this year is, again, that Metroid challenge. The optional reward, if you hit that, something's going to happen. I'll just say that. So, if you're like, should I take the optional challenge? It might be worth it just to see what happens.
Look forward to hearing what you guys find.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What kind of tool are you guys using to collect your stats? Is that something like on the emulator itself, or is that like pen and paper?
No, that's all the back end, the thing that loads the challenges and signs you in when you scan your badge. It's all running on a server, so it's actually the server keeping track of when someone what was the time code when someone signed in, what was the challenge that they loaded. All of that stuff is all tracked on the server in a database, and then after the event we can query that database and get the stats that we need.
A lot of those tools were created by Tim. Unfortunately, he's not here right now, but yeah, he did a lot of that base work, that legwork to create that initial system for us to have that server and be able to track those stats. So.
You might have covered this earlier, but how does the budgeting work for prizes and the machines and everything? Is that a challenge to get money for?
We would like to say that we use the stats year by year in order to make changes and adjustments that make complete sense and adhere to the difficulty of the challenges. But I'm going to be honest with you, we wing it. The truth is, a lot of it is dependent on what we have available to give as prizes and things like that. And sometimes you don't find that out very away. But we're hoping to collect enough data between the previous years that we do have data on and this year to really work harder on honing in on what the value of things should be and why and how many points and really grind that down. It's already a lot of work for these guys to just make the challenges. So people like me who aren't programmers are the people who've got to start making spreadsheets and be boring and tell them, okay, well guys, let's look at the points and break down the success rates and And now we're doing an office job, so I will help with that more, so that they can focus on having fun, which is staring at memory, I guess.
Yeah, it's so fun. But also I'll say, if you do enjoy MAGFest challenges and even the prizes, just always make sure to get feedback after the convention or at the panels at the end of the convention.
We need money help.
Yeah, if you just say like, I really enjoyed the challenges, I'd love if there were more stations, or I'd love if there were more prizes.
Why they don't have so many prizes? You guys should make sure they have more prizes.
Yeah. They might actually listen to that and give us more budget.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Oh.
There.
I know you spoke about making things too long. Is there is there a general time frame of how long you would like a challenge to be?
Not really. The thing I worry more about is difficulty and frustration. Like, we used to have a lot of challenges where it was like, just take no damage, but then people just feel frustrated if they get really far in and then they have to restart, or they don't feel encouraged to try things. So usually I just want to when I make a challenge, I want people to feel like, oh, maybe I should try this, or maybe I should try that, or this should be my strategy, and not just, there's one winning strategy, and if they don't know it, they're out of luck. So I would say length is always factored in. I just, like the Metro challenge I made this year was kind of long, just because I wanted to make 3 game levels and put them together, and in my head I felt they needed to be various lengths, but I maybe could have made them a little shorter.
I would say, for me personally, what works for me is a sense of progression. If I feel a sense of progression with a challenge, that is more important than anything else, right? So if I'm sitting there and I'm failing over and over and over again, if I'm failing within the first 2 seconds repeatedly, I go to, hey, this doesn't make any sense, dude. It's only like the first 2 seconds of starting the challenge. What's going on, right? But if I can start a challenge, get a little bit into it, mess up a whole lot, and go, oh, I see what I messed up. Okay, hang on. Now I'll do this. Oh, and then I make it a little further. I make it a little further. I keep trying. I make it a little further. That progression, being able to progress through a challenge and then eventually, hopefully, finish it, I think is the real test of if you've got something that's really good. If you can really hook yourself, hook another player into wanting to keep trying because they're just getting so much closer and they're almost there. Kind of like the Donkey Kong. We have one that's like a speed run. How fast you can get to the other side. And one year we had a competition where we actually kept track of the completion times, and we might do things like that in the future. But a lot of people got very hooked on being on the leaderboard for the time for that one. So just an idea of what I'm speaking to in terms of hooking people on that sense of progression. Oh, well, I can do a little bit better. Ooh, I'm ranked 3. So, and then of course, actually within the challenges, doing them, completing them. So, yeah.
How much do you factor in the idea of people being completely new to a game versus people having already beaten it 100%?
Hey, that's actually really good that you asked that, because I can speak to that with my own experience. So, just the Zelda challenge, what I'm thinking of. I like to try to, I like to just wipe my memory, try to not think what is in a game, what you can do in a game. And as I'm playing through a challenge, I'll give my feedback to Baxter and Tim, and I'll say, hey, what if someone doesn't know that this does this, or this does this much damage, or something like that? And an example of that was with the Zelda challenge. Now there's like you have a little hint, right?
Yeah.
So
there's now a hint that just says like, oh, by the way, sticks do more damage in the one fight that happens during the game.
There's even more ways to do more damage.
Yeah.
But, we wanted to, because I was honest with them. I said, I don't know, does it do more damage? Am I being tricked? Is it a trick that I have these items available to me? The truth is there really isn't anything devious in any of the challenges. No, like red herrings for the most part. Not really. It's not really a thing we do, but even when you see the tools in front of you, it may not dawn on you what isn't a viable tool to use for the challenge. So to answer the question, really it's, again, collaboration and feedback between ourselves, really trying to take our mindset, and then hopefully, if we have people who actually want to test the games who don't know them very well, it's actually even better. I was glad that I hadn't played Zelda 64 in about 100 million years, because I didn't remember. I had this slight idea. I was like, is rolling faster? Is rolling fast? And Baxter's like, it might be faster. I Googled it. I don't think it's faster, actually, but I'm actually still on the
It really looks like it's faster, but it really
It isn't faster. For the record, it isn't faster. But I swore it was faster. I was like, actually, I know it's faster. If I just roll the whole time down this tower, I'm going to get there. Does Zelda move faster if I get to the gate? He's like, no, I don't think so. No, I can tell. But as you can tell, it's a lot of back and forth and feedback and testing. And thankfully, my lack of knowledge really helped with adding more to that challenge and tweaking it a little bit to give more information to people. And again, those stats, right? We talked about all those stats, using those stats to really see like, ooh, maybe we all knew that game really well and other people didn't. We really should assess if it's way harder than we thought or it wasn't as obvious of a challenge as we thought. So
Yeah, basically, kind of tying into something you said earlier, I never want a challenge just to start and for you to immediately fail. There always needs to be a space where people can experiment and like figure out what do they need to do, what do the buttons do, Like the only exception to that was the WarioWare Smash 64, but that's kind of the whole style, and they all take only 5 seconds. So sometimes figuring out the buttons is the challenge.
yeah.
But most of the time, it flows much better when the people have that moment to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? What do the buttons do?
The WarioWare challenge is a good example of the sense of progression. As you get those random mini games and you're like, oh, well, I passed this one. Oh, crap, what's this one? Oh, God. And then you slowly start, you're like, okay, well, listen, I've completed each of these mini games once individually and then messed up. Eventually, I can do them all in sequence. I know I can. Any other questions? Anybody, anything out there? Anything else to throw out?
All right. Favorite games that you want to challenge in? Anything come to mind?
Pokemon Red and Blue.
Okay, what's going to happen in Pokemon Red and Blue? That's crazy. I was actually thinking of commissioning one of those like escape room people. Have you ever seen those videos?
Something with the rocks and the ice, where I always like those puzzles where you gotta arrange the rocks so that you can slide on the ice correctly. And I feel like the game just didn't have enough of that.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably liking that.
Yeah. So, random fact, that type of game where you're like pushing blocks and they can get in the way, meeting in various places, it's actually called Sokoban. So, we can see if we can do a Pokemon Sokoban challenge. Yeah, that's an idea. Any other favorite games that you feel are underrepresented?
Have you done any sports ones? Like, any like Ken Griffey or like NHL like type of like shootout type of thing?
And like, what would make it unique? Like, or what was your favorite part that you think would be expanded on?
I don't know, just doing something crazy like score 99 goals or something like like that or something.
It's funny that you mentioned sports games. There was one that was being worked on, Super Tecmo Bowl.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, with Joe and him running. But it didn't work out. We didn't feel it was working out the way we had planned it, but we did have Super Tecmo Bowl on our mind at once. So we're trying, we're trying. It's tough. It is tough to think of unique ideas because, a sports game has such rigid rules.
Sure.
So it's breaking away from those rules and making something unique again, right? So it's tough, but we need people to be creative. That's why we need more ideas.
Football game where you have to tackle everyone.
Just one guy on your team, you gotta tackle everyone one by one.
Yeah, instead of like scoring.
Yeah.
Well, we were trying to, I think there's a video, the Tecmo Bowl, if you know, there's a video of like one of the players, he's able to pass everybody and get from one side of the field to the other.
Yeah.
That was kind of like, oh, well, maybe there's a challenge there, but it was very, very hard to make it feel really fun. It just didn't feel fun. That was the problem, so.
Got a question back there?
Do the games have to be modified, or would it suffice if it was a sufficiently obscure game with a sufficiently obscure game mode?
If it's obscure, sometimes that can be enough. Just because if people have not seen it, it just
What the heck is Quicks?
I would do like a class challenge. But yeah, so That can sometimes be sufficient, again, as long as it's fun and something unique, just something you feel like, oh, probably people have never seen this, let me just show this and just get a certain score, or get to a certain level. That could be possible, it's just, if it's just, beat a Zelda boss, that's a little more common, that probably more people have already done in even strange ways.
Find your favorite PC Engine game. Bring it up. Bring your let's see, what other underrepresented console is in this? There's a lot. There's actually a lot out there.
We don't have many Game Boy or Game Boy Advance ones yet. Like I just did the first Game Boy one last year with the Pokemon pinball part of the Smash Remix, and then this year we have Metroid Zero Mission as part of the Metroid one.
Spoilers.
It changes the resolution a lot, but I work around it. So
he worked around it, guy. This guy.
But yeah, I just haven't done very much in those yet. But there's a lot of potential there. I keep thinking can I do something with Boktai, the salt sensing game? Oh, you're playing in a storm and the light keeps disappearing or something.
Maybe you actually have to go outside.
That thing in the game though, because they had the solar fruit that you could use to temporarily charge your stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't have sunlight.
So maybe something like that. But
I really want to figure out more Mega Man challenges, but that's just because I love Mega Man.
There might be a challenge this year that has Mega Man Battle Network if you look at it.
Only Paper Mario would have worked.
Yeah, it would have been our first RPG because RPGs are so hard to do challenges. It's what do? You just give them more stats. That was why I thought I had found something unique, but unfortunately,
I tested the heck out of that one too, by the way. Yeah. I wasted a lot. Well, I didn't waste it. We'll get it in there.
Wasted one whole evening.
Okay, it was more than one.
Yeah.
Kind of getting away from modding the emulator directly. Have you ever thought about doing anything with instrumental games and doing custom songs and stuff like that? Like a song, kind of like an obscure song in Guitar Hero or something like that.
Well, speaking of music games, we have a challenge that
Tim did that one, so I don't think
we have a game. Well, check out the challenges. Read the descriptions carefully. You may not realize it, but we have a music game challenge down there right now. But it may not look like it. Anything else? Anyone else got any other games?
Quest 64.
Oh, Quest 64. What would be the weird thing that happens there?
I don't know. Ask the Quest 64 guy on Twitter.
Just off the top of my head, I'd be like your element is maxed every battle, but it changes which one is maxed every battle. So suddenly you're maxed out on fire, and the next one you're maxed out on water, something like that. I don't know. I'd have to then think of where that would be happening and that sort of thing. So, but maybe
Final Fantasy Tactics. Any other game ideas? Anybody got any favorite games? We are getting close to time, but we're going to keep listening.
Paperboy 2.
Paperboy 2. What did it do?
What?
The first one didn't.
You're promoted, obviously. And also, you know what? Paperboy, that's actually a good point. Because Paperboy has the whole bonus round at the end of every stage, right?
I think it might have been a previous challenge, now that I think about it. But if people don't remember, we can do it again.
Yeah. Well, I think that may have been one of the old laptop challenges, actually. There were really old challenges from way back that were more vanilla, just beat a level and things like that. And they didn't survive. Those laptops were not there, so.
I saw a question there.
Paperboy 64.
Yes. Yes. Paperboy, where every time you throw a paper, it changes what Paperboy game you're playing. So the problem, that's another problem, right? Is we get this, we see one idea where it's changing the game, and then all of a sudden we go, wait a minute, shit, we used that idea 100 times. You probably gotta stop doing that crap. Yeah. We start getting too reliant on the same idea.
For Paperboy, I think one of the things you can do is change his throwing pattern so that he does something really crazy when he throws it.
Maybe.
You have to figure out how to make the target back.
Yeah, possibly. I'd have to look into how, again, the game code does various things.
That's interesting.
That could maybe work.
He's thinking too much into the code. I'm thinking into the idea. I like the idea. He's already it's so fine.
there's like a difference between changing memory and changing a function.
See, this is what I do to him all the time. What you just did, that's what I do to him all the time.
But it's a baby.
You never know. You just gotta crack it a little harder. Yeah.
Thing that comes to mind, Fire Emblem, but done as like a classic chess puzzle.
That could work. Like, 'cause if we made the RNG consistent, which sometimes we can do, like maybe we can make it that it's like not only one solution, but you have very limited resources, and that can maybe
Get from a preset starting condition.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Fire Emblem, where you fight against advanced wars units.
That would take a lot of sprite sheet updating.
You are up against tanks and on your horses.
They only have 10 hit points.
Advanced wars, but you can only build them at infantry.
That's a viable strategy, you know.
No.
Yeah.
I have played that game with my friends at the cafeteria, not to date myself, but no, that lasted for months.
We're almost out of time. Any last questions or games on your mind?
I was going to say I like the Fire Emblem chess puzzle idea, and you wouldn't really need to mess with the RNG, because you could just mess with the stats and remove it that way.
Yeah, that could.
Either or, really, both could work. Yeah.
It's just, we just don't want to make a challenge where someone gets a crit on every single turn, and that solves the whole challenge for them. So that's why sometimes we mess with RNG.
Yeah, that can be back up. Of Fire Emblem RNGs, they are like pretty sad.
Yeah. The real challenge is finding that information.
Yeah.
Finding the RNG, and they may be documented, it may not. It may be documented poorly. We don't know. But that's also part of what makes the challenge a challenge, right? It makes it challenging to make a challenge, but being able to even find your idea, you're like, oh, I got this idea, I want to manipulate this, and then it's like, I can't find this at all. Where is it? I'm not, so again, you got to think about these things and what we can and can't find and what works. I like these ideas. I've been writing them down, as you can tell. So.
All right. Last thing. Anyone else? Yeah.
So, I haven't seen your Battle Network challenge yet, but what about Battle Network Battle where you only have the block and fan chips, and so you have to defeat all your foes by blowing the blocks into them?
Oh, that's pretty good. That's
instead of fan chip, the air canister.
Yeah, there's in the game there's limitations on how many copies of chips you can have, but I could probably get around that. So.
I made some cheating.
That was how Link ended up Kid Link ended up holding the Master Sword, and I was like, how did I do that? I didn't even do that on purpose.
I remember making some devious chip decks with a not very fair number of chips, and said, "What are you talking about, dude? My deck is fine. Just because I'm doing an instant kill attack every turn doesn't mean anything. This is normal. I didn't do anything to modify the problem."
Thank you, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the challenges we have this year. And if you, like I said, if you want to join the team, just the easiest way would be to join the MAGFest Slack and join our challenge room. But
you're more than welcome to reach out to us directly if you want our emails or my email. I don't care. You get on my MAGFest email. I'll be more than happy to have it.
And I'll probably be walking around the challenges area most of the weekend, just watching and looking for anything to snap ahead.
More than happy to talk up. If you guys want to talk more ideas, you want to sync up more, just look for us. We're always available. We're open to feedback, and we want to hear from you.
Thank you.